Captain Jake Morrison walked across the bridge of the UES Liberty. His boots made soft sounds on the metal floor. The ship had been flying through deep space for 3 months now. They were looking for new worlds and signs of life beyond Earth. The Liberty was not a big ship. It carried only 50 people. Most of them were scientists and engineers. Jake had been chosen to lead this mission because he was calm under pressure. He also made good decisions when things got dangerous. Lieutenant Amy Carter sat at her station. She was watching the sensors that could detect things far away in space. Amy was young but very smart. She had studied alien signals at the Space Academy for 4 years. "Captain," Amy called out. Her voice sounded excited. "I'm getting strange readings from the Vega system." Jake walked over to her station. The screen showed numbers and graphs that most people would not understand. But Jake had learned to read these displays during his 10 years in space. "What kind of readings?" he asked. Amy pointed at her screen. "Energy signatures, sir. They're massive. Much bigger than anything we have on Earth." Chief Engineer Ryan Blake heard them talking. He left his own station and came over. Ryan was older than the others. His hair was gray and his face had lines from years of work. He had built engines for spaceships since before Jake was born. Ryan looked at the screen and whistled softly. "Those numbers can't be right. If they are, we're looking at ships the size of cities." Jake felt his stomach tighten. Earth had sent 3 ships like the Liberty to explore space. So far, they had found nothing but empty planets and dead rocks. The idea that something else was out there made him nervous. "How far away are they?" Jake asked. "About 2 days at full speed," Amy replied. "Should we go take a look?" Jake thought for a moment. His orders were to explore and report back to Earth. But his orders also said to be careful. If there really were giant ships near Vega, they might be dangerous. "Set course for the Vega system," Jake decided. "But keep our distance. I want to see what we're dealing with before we get too close." The Liberty changed direction and picked up speed. For 2 days they flew toward the strange signals. During that time, Jake called meetings with his senior staff. They talked about what they might find and what they would do if it was dangerous. Dr. Susan Hayes was the ship's science officer. She was excited about the possibility of finding alien life. "This could be the most important discovery in human history," she said during one meeting. Ryan was not so sure. "If they can build ships that big, their weapons are probably big too. We should be ready to run if we need to." On the second day, they reached the edge of the Vega system. Amy's sensors immediately started picking up more signals. But these were different from before. They were not just energy readings. They were explosions, Captain, Amy said in a worried voice. "There's a battle happening here." Jake ordered the ship to stop where they were. He did not want to fly into the middle of a space battle. Amy worked on her sensors to get a better picture of what was happening. What she found made everyone on the bridge go quiet. There were indeed giant ships near Vega, hundreds of them. They were dark and shaped like knives. Each one was at least 5 miles long. They moved slowly but fired weapons that could destroy mountains. The giant ships were attacking a planet. The planet had its own smaller ships trying to defend it. But the defenders were losing badly. Jake watched on the screen as one by one the defending ships exploded. "Who are they?" Jake asked quietly. Amy had been listening to radio signals from the battle. She had learned several alien languages at the academy. The attackers call themselves the Hegemony. The people they're attacking are called the Keth. The Keth are asking for help, but no one is answering. Jake watched as the Hegemony ships moved closer to the planet. They began firing at the surface. Cities that had stood for thousands of years turned into fire and smoke. Millions of people were dying, and there was nothing Jake could do to help them. Communications officer Lisa Barnes was trying to record everything. She wanted to bring proof back to Earth. "Captain, I'm getting clear pictures of their ships and weapons. Earth needs to see this." Ryan was studying the Hegemony ships on his screen. "Look at how they fight. They don't use tactics or strategy. They just use overwhelming force. They have so many ships that they don't need to be smart about it." Jake made a hard decision. He wanted to help the Keth, but his small ship would be destroyed in seconds if the Hegemony noticed them. His duty was to warn Earth about this threat. "Amy, can you tell which direction they came from?" he asked. Amy worked on her sensors for several minutes. Finally, she looked up with fear in her eyes. "They came from the direction of Earth, Captain. If they keep going the way they're going, they'll reach our solar system in about 18 months. The bridge became very quiet. Everyone understood what this meant. Earth had always wondered if there was other life in the galaxy. Now they had their answer. There was other life, and it was coming to destroy them. Jake watched the last Keth ship explode on his screen. The planet below was now covered in fires. The hegemony had won another victory. Soon they would move on to find their next target. Set course for Earth, Jake ordered. Maximum speed. We need to warn them about what's coming. The Liberty turned around and began the long journey home. As they flew away from Vega, Jake thought about what he had seen. The hegemony ships were huge and powerful. Earth ships were small and weak compared to them. When the aliens arrived, humanity would face a choice: surrender or fight a war they could not win. But Jake knew his people. Humans did not give up easily. They would fight even against impossible odds. The question was whether they could find a way to win against an enemy that had conquered countless worlds before Earth was even discovered. The race to save humanity had begun. Admiral Helen Wright stood in front of the biggest screen in the United Earth Council building. The room was full of important people from every country on Earth. Presidents, prime ministers, and generals all sat quietly as they watched the video from the Vega system. The footage showed the hegemony ships destroying the Keth planet. Every person in the room could see the massive alien vessels firing their weapons. Cities disappeared in flashes of light. Millions of people died in minutes. "This is what we face," Admiral Wright said when the video ended. "Captain Morrison and his crew risked their lives to bring us this information. The aliens will reach Earth in 18 months. Defense Minister Paul Jackson stood up. He was a big man with a loud voice. "How many ships do they have?" "Our count shows at least 400 vessels in that one fleet," Wright replied. "Each ship is roughly 5 miles long. Their weapons can destroy cities from orbit." Dr. Susan Hayes raised her hand. She had studied the video for weeks since the Liberty returned. "We've analyzed their technology. Their ships are massive but slow. They rely on heavy armor and powerful weapons. They don't seem to use advanced tactics." President Maria Lopez of the Americas Federation spoke next. "What do we have that can fight them?" Admiral Wright's answer made the room even quieter. "Nothing. Our biggest warship is the size of their smallest fighter. Our weapons cannot penetrate their armor. If they attack us today, we would lose in hours." The silence stretched for a long minute. Finally, Prime Minister David Chen of the Asian Alliance spoke. "Then we must build ships that can fight them. We have 18 months. "Impossible," said General Marcus Webb. "It takes 3 years to build one exploration ship. How can we build a fleet in 18 months? Paul Jackson slammed his hand on the table. "Because we have to. Every factory, every shipyard, every resource on Earth. We convert everything to building warships." Dr. Hayes stood up again. "I've been working on new weapon designs. We can't match their size, so we need to be faster and smarter. Human ships should be quick and hit hard." Admiral Wright nodded. "We're calling it Project Guardian. Every nation contributes. Every person helps. We build the most advanced fleet in human history." The next week, everything on Earth changed. Factories that made cars started making spaceship parts. Miners went to asteroids to get rare metals. Scientists worked day and night on new weapons and shields. Captain Jake Morrison was promoted to the Guardian Project. He worked with Dr. Hayes to design Earth's first real warship. They called it the U.S. Vengeance. "It won't be as big as their ships," Jake told the design team, "but it will be faster and smarter. We'll use their size against them." Ryan Blake was put in charge of the engine systems. He had new ideas about making ships move faster than anything before. "If we can't outgun them, we'll outrun them," he said. Amy Carter worked on sensor systems that could track hundreds of targets at once. Human pilots are better than alien computers, she believed. We just need to give them the right information. Lisa Barnes developed new communication systems. She wanted human ships to work together like a team. "The aliens fight alone. We fight together." The work was hard and dangerous. 3 people died in engine tests. A weapons test destroyed a small moon, but humans kept working. They knew their planet's life depended on success. Other countries contributed their best ideas. The European Federation gave new metal alloys that were stronger than steel, but lighter than aluminum. The African Union provided power systems that could run a city. The Pacific Coalition shared computer designs that could think faster than human brains. General Webb oversaw the construction of the first shipyard in Earth's orbit. It was built in secret on the far side of the moon. Within 6 months, it was producing 1 warship every week. The ships were not as big as the alien vessels, but they were beautiful. Each one was sleek and fast. Their hulls were dark blue with silver lines. They looked like sharks swimming through space. Dr. Hayes tested the new weapons on asteroids. Human railguns could fire metal projectiles at incredible speeds. Fusion missiles created small suns when they exploded. Energy shields could deflect most attacks. But the most important innovation was how the ships fought together. Human pilots trained to move as one unit. When one ship attacked from the front, others struck from the sides. When one ship was damaged, others covered its retreat. Admiral Wright commanded the first test of a full battle group. 20 ships moved through space like dancers. They practiced attacks and defenses until every movement was perfect. The aliens expect us to fight like they do, Wright explained to her captains. They think bigger ships always win. We're going to show them that speed and intelligence beat raw power. Jake Morrison was chosen to command the Vengeance. His crew from the Liberty joined him on the new ship. They had seen the enemy before. They knew what Earth was fighting against. Amy Carter became the ship's tactical officer. Ryan Blake managed the engineering crew. Lisa Barnes handled communications with the fleet. They were no longer explorers. They were warriors. With 3 months left before the aliens arrived, Earth had built 50 warships. It was not enough to match the hegemony's numbers, but it was enough to fight. Dr. Hayes made the final improvements to the weapons. Remember, she told the weapons crews, aim for their engines and weapon systems. Don't try to destroy the whole ship at once. The ships took positions around Earth's solar system. They hid behind planets and in asteroid fields. When the hegemony arrived, they would find humans ready for war. Jake stood on the bridge of the Vengeance and looked at Earth through the viewport. His home planet looked small and blue in the darkness of space. Soon, alien ships would come to destroy it. But humans were not the same people who had sent exploration ships into space 2 years ago. They had learned about war and built weapons that could fight gods. The galaxy was about to discover that Earth's children did not surrender easily. The waiting was almost over. The real test was about to begin. War Commander Vexthal stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Dark Conquest. Through the massive viewport, he could see his fleet of 400 ships moving through space toward the small yellow star ahead. His species had conquered 17 star systems in the past century. This would be number 18. Vexthal was tall and thin with gray skin and 4 arms. His people, the hegemony, believed they were the strongest race in the galaxy. They had never lost a battle. They had never retreated from an enemy. Report, Vexthal ordered his navigation officer. We are approaching the system the scouts identified, the officer replied. Primitive radio signals detected. No advanced technology. Standard conquest protocols should be sufficient. Vexthal nodded. It was always the same. The hegemony would arrive at a new system and demand surrender. Most species gave up immediately when they saw the size of the fleet. Those who refused were destroyed quickly. His ships were massive and powerful. Each one carried weapons that could crack a planet in half. Their armor was thick enough to stop any attack. The hegemony had used the same tactics for 100 years because those tactics always worked. Any sign of their military forces? Vexthal asked. Nothing significant, replied his weapons officer. A few small ships near the outer planets. Nothing that could threaten us. Vexthal smiled, showing sharp teeth. This would be another easy victory. In a few days, this system would belong to the hegemony. The natives would work in mines or become food for his soldiers. Suddenly, alarms started ringing throughout the ship. Officers shouted reports from their stations. Something had appeared directly in front of the fleet. What is that? Vexthal demanded. On the main screen, a single ship hung in space between the hegemony fleet and the star system. It was much smaller than any hegemony vessel. Compared to the Dark Conquest, it looked like a tiny fish facing a whale. It appears to be one of their warships, the sensors officer reported. Very small. No significant threat detected. Vexthal laughed. One ship? They send one ship to fight our entire fleet? The communications officer spoke up. Sir, they're transmitting a message. Put it on the speakers, Vexthal ordered. He wanted his crew to hear the fear in the enemy's voice when they begged for mercy. Instead, a calm human voice filled the bridge. This is Captain Jake Morrison of the United Earth ship Vengeance. You have entered human space with hostile intent. Turn back now or face the consequences. The bridge fell silent for a moment. Then Vexthal began laughing harder than before. His officers joined in. The idea that this tiny ship could threaten them was the funniest thing they had heard in years. Did they just threaten us? Vexthul asked between laughs. It appears so, sir. The communications officer replied. Vexthul wiped tears from his eyes. Open a channel. I want to talk to this brave fool. When the channel opened, Vexthul spoke in his most threatening voice. I am War Commander Vexthul of the Hegemony. You will surrender immediately, or we will destroy your pathetic ship and then burn your worlds. Captain Morrison's reply came back immediately. I don't think so. Vexthul stopped laughing. The human's voice was still calm. There was no fear in it at all. That was unusual. Host species begged for mercy by now. You have 10 seconds to surrender, Vexthul warned. After that, you die. Counter-offer, Morrison replied. You have 10 seconds to leave our space. After that, we start shooting. The bridge of the Dark Conquest went quiet again. No one had ever spoken to the Hegemony that way. Vexthul felt his anger rising. These humans needed to learn respect. Destroy that ship, he ordered. Make an example of them. The nearest Hegemony vessel, a destroyer called the Iron Fist, turned its massive guns toward the Vengeance. Plasma bolts the size of buildings shot through space toward the small human ship. Everyone on the Dark Conquest expected to see the human ship explode. Instead, something impossible happened. The plasma bolts hit the Vengeance and simply bounced off. The small ship had shields that could deflect the Hegemony's most powerful weapons. Impossible, Vexthul whispered. Before anyone could react, the Vengeance fired back. Projectiles moving at incredible speed shot from its weapons. They hit the Iron Fist and punched through its armor like it was paper. The Hegemony destroyer exploded in a ball of fire. The bridge of the Dark Conquest erupted in chaos. Officers shouted reports and warnings. Alarms rang continuously. In seconds, the humans had done what no enemy had ever done before. They had destroyed a Hegemony warship. How is this possible? Vexthul demanded. His science officer was staring at his instruments in disbelief. Their ship is moving faster than our sensors can track. Their weapons use kinetic energy instead of plasma. Our armor isn't designed to stop that type of attack. Vexthul watched the small human ship on his screen. It was moving in ways that seemed to defy physics. It spun and twisted through space like a living thing. Every movement was precise and deadly. All ships open fire, Vexthul ordered. The entire Hegemony fleet turned its weapons on the single human ship. Thousands of plasma bolts and energy beams filled the space around the Vengeance. Surely nothing could survive that much firepower. But the human ship kept moving. It dodged some attacks and absorbed others with its shields. Its return fire destroyed 2 more Hegemony vessels before most of the alien weapons could even reload. Sir, the communications officer reported. We're receiving multiple new contacts. More human ships are approaching. Vexthul looked at his main screen and felt fear for the first time in his life. The space around his fleet was filling with human warships. They appeared from behind asteroids and planets. They dropped out of faster-than-light travel in perfect formation. There were dozens of them. Each one was small compared to Hegemony ships, but they moved with coordination that seemed impossible. They attacked from multiple directions at once. Their weapons fired with precision that his own gunners could not match. How many? Vexthul asked. 50 confirmed, his sensors officer replied. Possibly more. Admiral Helen Wright's voice came over the communication system. War Commander Vexthul, this is Admiral Wright of the Earth Defense Fleet. You are surrounded and outgunned. Surrender now and we will allow your surviving ships to leave our space. Vexthul looked around his bridge. His officers were staring at their instruments in shock. Half of his fleet was already destroyed or damaged. The humans were fighting with tactics he had never seen before. Impossible, he said again. We are the Hegemony. We do not lose battles. But as he watched his ships explode one by one under human fire, Vexthul realized that the galaxy had just changed forever. These humans were not like any enemy the Hegemony had faced before. They were something new and dangerous. The age of easy conquest was over. The space around Earth's solar system had become a battlefield. Explosions lit up the darkness like deadly fireworks. The Hegemony fleet, which had seemed so powerful an hour ago, was now fighting for survival against an enemy they had underestimated. Captain Jake Morrison gripped the arms of his command chair as the Vengeance spun through space. Around him, his crew worked with the precision of a machine. They had trained for this moment for months. Amy, give me targeting data on that command ship, Jake ordered. Lieutenant Amy Carter's fingers flew over her controls. Got it, Captain. the big one with all the communication arrays. If we take it out, their coordination will suffer. Ryan Blake's voice came through the ship's communication system from the engine room. Captain, I can give you 20% more speed, but the engines will run hot. Do it, Jake replied. Lisa, tell Admiral Wright we're going after their flagship. Communications officer Lisa Barnes nodded and sent the message. Around them, the human fleet moved like a pack of wolves. They struck at the alien ships from different angles, then disappeared before the heavy return fire could hit them. War Commander Vex Thul watched his fleet die around him. The humans fought with a style he had never encountered. Instead of meeting his ships in direct combat, they used hit-and-run tactics. They targeted weak points and weapon systems rather than trying to destroy entire ships at once. Status report, Vex Thul demanded. We've lost 60 ships, his tactical officer reported. Another 40 are heavily damaged. The humans have lost only 3 vessels. Vex Thul could not believe what he was hearing. The hegemony had conquered countless worlds. They had never suffered losses like this. Sir, his weapons officer called out, the small human ship is coming directly at us. On the main screen, Vex Thul could see the Vengeance approaching the Dark Conquest. The human ship was tiny compared to his flagship, but it moved with deadly purpose. All weapons target that ship, Vex Thul ordered. The Dark Conquest's massive guns turned toward the approaching human vessel. Plasma bolts thick as trees shot through space, but the Vengeance twisted between them like it was dancing. Its pilot seemed to know where each shot would go before it was fired. Jake Morrison felt his ship shake as enemy fire passed close by. Amy, how close can you get us to their bridge? Pretty close, Captain, Amy replied with a grin. Their guns are too big to hit us when we're next to their hull. The Vengeance swooped in close to the Dark Conquest. Jake could see alien faces through the windows of the enemy ship. They looked surprised and afraid. Good. It was time they learned what fear felt like. Fire all weapons, Jake ordered. The Vengeance's railguns opened fire at point-blank range. Metal projectiles moving at incredible speed punched through the alien ship's armor. Explosions rippled along the Dark Conquest's hull, but the flagship was too big to destroy quickly. Vex Thul's ship shook but kept fighting. Its smaller weapons tried to target the Vengeance, but the human ship was too close and moving too fast. Across the battlefield, Admiral Helen Wright coordinated the rest of the human fleet. She commanded from the UES Liberty, the same ship that had first discovered the alien threat. Group 7 hit their left flank, Wright ordered. Group 12 cover Group 7's retreat. Don't let them surround any of our ships. Dr. Susan Hayes, now commanding her own destroyer, led a squadron against a cluster of alien heavy cruisers. Her ship, the UES Defiance, danced between enemy fire while its weapons carved through alien armor. Remember your training, Hayes told her crew. Speed and intelligence beat size and strength every time. The human ships worked together like instruments in an orchestra. When one ship attacked, others provided cover. When a ship was damaged, its squad mates protected it while it retreated. The aliens had never seen coordination like this. Vex Thul realized his fleet was being systematically destroyed. The humans were not just winning. They were dominating. His massive ships could not hit the fast human vessels, and their own heavy armor was useless against human weapons. Sir, his communications officer reported, Admiral Crecton is requesting permission to retreat. Retreat? Vex Thul roared. The hegemony does not retreat. But even as he said it, Vex Thul could see that retreat might be the only option. Half his fleet was gone. The other half was scattered and confused. The humans showed no signs of slowing down. Captain Morrison brought the Vengeance around for another attack run on the Dark Conquest. This time, he aimed for the ship's engine section. If he could disable the flagship, the rest of the alien fleet might surrender. Ryan, I need everything the engines can give us, Jake said. You've got it, Captain, Ryan replied. But after this run, we'll need to cool down for 10 minutes. That's fine. We won't need 10 minutes. The Vengeance accelerated toward the Dark Conquest's engines. Alien point defense weapons tried to stop it, but Amy Carter had found blind spots in their coverage. The human ship slipped through the defensive fire like water through a net. At the last second, Jake ordered maximum fire. Every weapon on the Vengeance shot at once. The Dark Conquest's engines exploded in a chain reaction that lit up half the battlefield. Vex Thul felt his ship shake and heard the roar of failing engines. Emergency lights flashed red across his bridge. Damage reports poured in from every section. "Sir, main engines are offline," his engineering officer reported. "We're dead in space." Around them, the remaining hegemony ships saw their flagship disabled. Some tried to continue fighting. Others began to retreat. The perfect discipline of the hegemony fleet crumbled like sand. Admiral Wright saw the alien command ship go dark. She opened a channel to the entire human fleet. "All ships, this is Admiral Wright. The enemy flagship is disabled. Press the attack. Don't let any of them escape." The human ships surged forward like hungry sharks. They picked off the retreating alien vessels one by one. The hegemony's superior numbers meant nothing when their ships were scattered and demoralized. Ryan Blake's voice came over the Vengeance's communication system. "Captain, I'm reading massive explosions in their fleet. I think they're destroying their own ships rather than let us capture them." Jake nodded grimly. "Let them run. We've made our point." Within another hour, the battle was over. Most of the hegemony fleet was destroyed. The few surviving ships jumped into faster-than-light travel and fled toward their home territory. Admiral Wright surveyed the battlefield from her command ship. Debris from alien vessels drifted through space like metal snow. Earth had won its first interstellar war. "Casualty report," Wright requested. 7 ships damaged, 3 destroyed, her tactical officer replied. Total human casualties, 43 dead, 96 wounded. Wright felt the weight of those losses. Every person who died today had been someone's child, parent, or friend. But they had died protecting Earth from an enemy that would have killed billions. Captain Morrison brought the Vengeance alongside the Liberty. Through the viewport, he could see his home planet in the distance. Earth was safe. The aliens had learned that humanity was not easy prey, but Jake knew this was only the beginning. The hegemony would return with more ships and better tactics. Other alien empires would hear about this battle and wonder if humans might threaten them too. The galaxy had just discovered that Earth's children were warriors. The universe would never be the same. News of humanity's victory spread across the galaxy faster than light itself. On 1,000 worlds, alien species that had lived in fear of the hegemony for generations suddenly dared to hope. The impossible had happened. Someone had defeated the conquerors. Admiral Helen Wright stood in the newly built Earth Diplomatic Center. Representatives from dozens of alien civilizations had traveled to Earth to see the humans who had accomplished the impossible. The meeting hall was filled with beings of every shape and size imaginable. 6 months ago, we thought we were alone in the universe. Wright addressed the gathered aliens. Today, we stand ready to help any world that faces oppression. A tall, blue-skinned delegate from the Keth homeworld stepped forward. Ambassador Veltar had survived the destruction Wright and her crew had witnessed at Vega. His people were among the first to reach out to Earth after the battle. "The Keth people offer our friendship to humanity," Veltar said in careful English. "We have technology that might help you. In return, we ask for protection from the hegemony's return." Wright nodded. "Earth accepts your friendship. Together, we can build something better than the galaxy has ever seen." Other aliens came forward with similar offers. The Rixon Federation brought advanced medical technology. The Italian Republic shared their knowledge of faster-than-light communication. Each species that had suffered under hegemony rule wanted to join humanity's growing alliance, but not all the visitors came in friendship. Ambassador Zethrak of the Dominion Empire watched the proceedings with suspicious eyes. His people had their own vast territory and military. They saw humanity as a potential threat to their power. "Your victory was impressive," Zethrak told Wright during a private meeting. "But do not think it makes you rulers of the galaxy. The Dominion has kept order in our sector for 500 years. Wright smiled calmly. "We don't want to rule anyone. We just want to make sure bullies like the hegemony can't hurt innocent people." "And who decides who is innocent?" Zethrak asked. "You?" "Everyone decides for themselves," Wright replied. "That's called freedom." Meanwhile, Captain Jake Morrison had been promoted to admiral and given command of Earth's new expeditionary fleet. His mission was to seek out other worlds threatened by the hegemony and offer them protection. The UES Vengeance had become the flagship of this fleet. Jake stood on its bridge as they approached the Kepler system, where refugees reported hegemony attacks on mining colonies. "Contact the settlements," Jake ordered Lisa Barnes. "Let them know help has arrived." The response came back immediately. The miners had been under siege for weeks. Hegemony raiders had destroyed their defensive platforms and were demanding surrender. "Amy, where are the raiders now?" Jake asked. Lieutenant Amy Carter, now his tactical officer, studied her sensors. 3 ships holding position over the main colony. "They're not as big as the fleet we fought at Earth, but they're still dangerous." Jake smiled. "Only 3 ships? This should be easy." The Vengeance and its escort ships approached the Hegemony raiders carefully. Jake wanted to give them a chance to leave peacefully. He had Lisa open a communication channel. "Attention Hegemony vessels. This is Admiral Morrison of the Earth Defense Force. You will cease your attacks and leave this system immediately." The reply came in the harsh language of the Hegemony. Amy translated. "They're telling us to leave or be destroyed." They also used several words I can't repeat in polite company. "Some people never learn," Jake said sadly. "All ships weapons free. Let's send them home." The battle lasted less than an hour. The Hegemony raiders had not learned from their fleet's defeat at Earth. They still relied on heavy armor and brute force tactics. The human ships danced around them, striking at weak points until all 3 alien vessels were disabled or destroyed. The miners on the planet below cheered as they watched their attackers flee. Within days, they had voted to join the growing Earth Alliance. Their resources and knowledge of the Outer Rim would help humanity expand its protection to more worlds. Dr. Susan Hayes now ran Earth's Alien Technology Division. Her job was to study captured hegemony equipment and adapt it for human use. She had learned that the aliens were powerful but not creative. They used the same weapons and tactics for centuries without improvement. They got lazy, Hayes explained to a group of human engineers. "When you always win, you stop trying to get better. That's why we beat them." Her team had reverse-engineered hegemony shield technology and improved it. They had studied alien armor and found ways to make it lighter but stronger. Human ships were becoming even more advanced. But the most important discovery was how the aliens viewed war itself. For the hegemony and most other galactic powers, battle was about overwhelming force. Whoever had the biggest ships and most guns would win. The idea of using strategy and teamwork was foreign to them. "We're teaching the galaxy a new way to fight," Hayes told Admiral Wright. "Other species are starting to copy our tactics. The old way of thinking about war is dying." This change worried some alien empires. The hegemony survivors had retreated to their home worlds and begun rebuilding their fleet. But they were also trying to learn human tactics. War Commander Vexthul, who had survived the battle at Earth, was studying recordings of human ship movements. "They fight like insects," Vexthul told his subordinates. "Each ship is weak alone, but together they are strong. We must find a way to separate them." The hegemony was not the only threat humanity faced. Reports came in of other aggressive empires testing Earth's new allies. Pirates and raiders thought they could attack human-protected worlds and escape before help arrived. They were wrong. Admiral Morrison's fleet seemed to appear wherever it was needed. Human ships could travel faster than most alien vessels and fight more effectively when they arrived. The galaxy's criminals quickly learned to avoid any world flying Earth's flag. Ryan Blake, now Chief of Starship Engineering, oversaw the construction of humanity's newest ships. Each design was better than the last. The latest destroyers could outrun anything in space. The new cruisers could take on ships 10 times their size and win. "We're not just building ships," Blake told his team. "We're building hope. Every world that sees our flag knows that someone is willing to fight for them." Amy Carter had been given her own command. The UES Thunderbolt was a new type of ship designed for deep reconnaissance. Her job was to map hegemony territory and find other species that needed help. On one of these missions, she discovered something that changed everything. The hegemony was not the galaxy's only threat. Beyond their territory lay something worse, an empire called the Void Lords that made the hegemony look gentle by comparison. "Admiral," Amy reported to Morrison over the long-range communicator, "the hegemony might have been running from something when they expanded toward Earth. There's a much bigger threat out there." Morrison felt a chill run down his spine. "How much bigger?" "Thousands of ships. Technology we can't understand. They don't just conquer worlds. They consume them completely. Nothing lives in their territory. Nothing at all." The galaxy had thought the hegemony was the ultimate evil. Now they learned there were monsters even worse waiting in the darkness between stars. But humanity had proven that even the mightiest enemies could be defeated with courage and intelligence. Admiral Wright called an emergency session of the Earth Alliance. Representatives from 50 worlds gathered to hear Amy's report about the Void Lords. This changes everything, Wright told the assembly. We're no longer just fighting for our own freedom. We're fighting for the survival of all life in the galaxy. The aliens in the room looked at each other with fear and uncertainty. But the humans remained calm. They had faced impossible odds before and won. Jake Morrison stood up to address the assembly. The Void Lords sound scary? So did the hegemony 6 months ago. We beat them. And we'll beat this new threat too. But we'll need everyone working together. A year after Earth's first contact with alien life, humanity had become the galaxy's protector. Human ships patrolled trade routes and defended peaceful worlds. Human diplomats negotiated peace treaties between warring species. Human engineers shared their technology with anyone who needed it. The galaxy was changing. Old empires based on fear and oppression were crumbling. New alliances built on cooperation and mutual respect were taking their place. At the center of it all stood Earth, a small blue planet whose children had taught the universe a new way to live. Admiral Morrison stood on the bridge of the Vengeance and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, the Void Lords were preparing for war. Other threats would emerge as the galaxy continued to change. But humanity was ready for whatever came next. The age of tyranny was ending. The age of freedom had begun.